Hello, Awake Revolution Soul team. How are you? So I wanted to come on live just to share a little spontaneous message. I'd written a note in my phone earlier this week and it was going to be a post, but I thought, no, I'll just come on and share this with you. And it's really weird how just before I click live, I suddenly felt really nervous to do a live stream. It's weird. It's really weird. That just came up out of nowhere. And you might have heard me talk about that before, right? About the visibility. And it just came in. Anyway, that's bizarre. That hasn't happened to me in a while. Anyway, so here I am. I hope you're well. And I wanted to just run you through this energy, right, of being misunderstood by others, because this is a big juicy one. And it comes up for me every now and then. I think it comes up for most human beings every now and then. And I wanted to just share a couple of quick perspectives with you to help you just look at it and see where you need to shift, see where maybe which ones of these you kind of need to step into, because we need different things at different points. So do say hello if you're here joining me, because I can't see who's here. Yeah, and if you're watching the replay. So being misunderstood then by others is a really shitty feeling, right? I don't think any of us love that feeling. It's one of my least favorite feelings, I think, being misunderstood in my intention or with my energy or with my words. And I'm guessing a lot of you feel the same. So yeah, so drop me a comment below if this is one of yours. It's like the worst thing sometimes when people, they just take what you've said and for whatever reason they've taken a different meaning from your intention, and that feels really quite difficult sometimes to sit with. So I just want to kind of unpack that fairly quickly with you. I just see who's commenting because I can't see who's here with me. Oh, hi, Sam. Hello, lovely lady. Yes, hello. And hello, Akua. I think you're here as well. Right. So I want to share with you a kind of typical perspective that a lot of people talk about, and maybe one that's a little bit less obvious. But so let's just start with that then. So let's say you're in a conversation, right? And it could be in your clients, could be business, could be personal, could be family, could be whoever. And let's say you're saying something, and whatever it is, the other person's taken it as something not as you intended. So let's say that you've said something, they've reacted, and you're trying to explain, no, I didn't mean that, I meant this, and they are not hearing that, and then they've maybe perceived you as being in a different energy that you are, or you've said something that. So let's be really extreme here to make the example. Let me think of an example. Let's say you're sharing something. Yeah, you've shared something that you want to create in your life, right? Let's just say that. And then someone says, oh my God, you're that's really selfish of you, right? They straight up in your face say, that's really selfish of you. Why would you want to do this or change this? And that's really triggered you, right? Let's just say something like that would really trigger and wound you. And then you go into oh my God, holy crap, they haven't understood what I've said, right? So let's just use that as an example. You can use your own example. Hello, Jan. Hello, Jan. I hope you're well. Nice to have you here as well. But yeah, let me know if this resonates with you. And so let's say they misunderstand you. Now, first thing to know on this is very frustrating, but true. It's never about you. It's never personal. It's always about where they are and what their lens is. Because remember, none of us see the world through the same lens, which is so easy to forget when we're here on this earth plane. But it's we're all walking around with a very unique set of lenses, right? So if you kind of imagine that and remember that each and every one of us, none of us have the same pair of glasses, right? We think we do. We do in some areas, but none of us see the world in exactly the same way. So none of us experience anything. And this is the beautiful thing, by the way, soul reminder in the middle of this, is that no one sees the world and has experienced the world in exactly the way that you do. There is only one you who thinks like you, who feels like you do, who's experienced what you've experienced. That's why you're genuinely a magical, amazing, powerful soul. There is only one of you, right? So none of us really experience exactly the same, even if we think we overlap and we have very strong similarities. So first thing to remember is when they're seeing it through their lens, they're seeing it through their lens. So it's never personal, and it's always about the mood they're in, the energy they're in, the lens that they're seeing it through. So that can really be helpful just to understand that it isn't about you personally. So that's number one. So having that understanding, but I want to share a couple of perspectives even off that. So Akua, yeah, some people are dedicated to their narrative for their own reasons. Yeah, usually just deflection from the truth in one way or another. Yeah, and it's deflection from the truth is like what they perceive it anyway, right? And what we perceive. So it's a real kind of gray area. But yeah, definitely, it's like people are so dedicated to their own story, right? It's hard walking away from it, but it's out of my control. Yeah. So I want to share something just to kind of help you with when this comes up, because it comes up, right? It never kind of doesn't come up in some capacity. So understanding, first of all, that they're seeing it through their lens. So I always kind of make it a mantra. I try as hard as I can to just understand that people are just where they're at. They're seeing it the way they're seeing it. It's not personal. If that person was in their higher selves, right, in their, you know, the highest version of them, they probably wouldn't have misunderstood what we've said, right? So let's just understand that, and then we can have some compassion for them and for ourselves, right? Okay. Secondly, is the next thing that people usually, if you're kind of already, you're aware of like personal development, self development, you'll know about triggers. So this is the thing that can either help you or hinder you. So let's say you've been misunderstood wildly by someone. So let's say, to come back to this example, someone says, "Oh my God, you're so selfish for wanting to create this or be this or choose this or whatever. You're really selfish. How can you be so selfish? That's not very kind," like blah, blah, blah. So if that triggers you, the self-development books would probably be very quick to say, it's triggered you because it's true. And I've definitely shared that message before, and there is partial truth in that. Sometimes that is true. It's triggered you because maybe deep down you might believe that you're being selfish, let's say, or you might believe the thing that they're saying. It's pushed a button on you because you actually believe that it might be true. So in that case, it will bring up that subconscious belief. It will bring it to the surface, painful but good. And then if you understand, oh, I've been triggered because actually there's a part of me that actually feels that might be true and I don't like that. That's a beautiful experience in a way, but it gives you the opportunity to heal and grow and take that and look at it, right, and heal it, and you know, whatever you need to do, get someone else to assist you with it or work through it yourself, whatever that trigger is, right? That's a really great way, and I've done that loads of times. In fact, like mainly I will do that. I'll go, oh, that's brought up something in me. Why have I reacted like that? Okay, I've been misunderstood, but what am I really believing? And then it gives me an opportunity for growth. So I'm kind of practiced at that, but I want to share. So that's maybe something for you to think about and explore when this comes up. But I want to give you another perspective, because sometimes in this kind of self-help industry, they kind of give you that as the only way. And it sort of becomes this blanket rule of, if someone triggers you or they've misunderstood you and you haven't liked the feeling, it's because you really believe that's true. But that's only one part. It's never one way, remember. So I want to give you this other perspective that my guides shared with me kind of maybe like a week or two ago, and it was just really helpful to remember this. And sometimes what it is someone's misunderstood you. It isn't because you really believe that's true about yourself. It's because it doesn't resonate with you at all, right? So what it's done, and this happens a lot, it's hit on the fact that you know that you're not this. You already know, because maybe you've done a little bit of work on yourself, or a lot, or maybe you are connected enough into yourself about that to know that that is not true what that person has said to me, right? That is not a true reflection of what you know yourself to be. But the issue isn't then for you to go and do the work on it. Really, do you know what the issue often is that you're not okay with someone sharing the perspective about you. So what we often want is, we know ourselves, we feel soul aligned, we feel rock solid steady in who we are and what we're about. And that's a very nice steady place. But when someone else outside of us doesn't share that perspective, that's the trigger. So that's the piece that will need our attention. And so often it's that. And that, I think, that can be really overlooked, because you might have taken on too much responsibility about the trigger itself. I hope I'm making sense here. If it's making sense inside of my mind, but let me know if this makes sense. Also, if you're watching the replay, if this is making sense to you, if there's any questions, pop them below. But what it is instead of then working on the part of you that really believes this about yourself, no, it might very well be working on the part of you that gets to say, even if someone doesn't understand me fully. Even if someone doesn't share my knowingness about myself, that is okay. I don't need them to hold it for me to hold it. So can you see where it's a completely different angle? So this is what it came up for me like a week or two. I can't even remember what the thing was about. Actually, it was some random stupid thing. And then it sort of brought me back to, oh no, this isn't a trigger about myself. It's really about, well, it is, but it's really about, oh, I know myself. I know that that isn't what I meant or, whatever, felt. I know what I meant and felt. I know this. I'm rock solid in myself, but they are seeing it in a different way. Oh, can I hold that truth about me even when someone doesn't? And that's so often the work. That's so often the piece that is so, so powerful, because what it means is if you are able to practice this and start to look at it from this perspective, it means we get to practice holding this resonance about ourselves, right? Knowing this is true about me. This is true about me. And I'm going to hold that truth. It's easy to hold that truth when other people around you agree with you, right? When you're surrounded by loved ones, when you're surrounded by support, when you're surrounded by, people who say, yes, 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 I see you, I understand you. But how can you hold that? Can you hold that when other people around you don't see it? And that, I find, is some of the most liberating work. It's the most powerful piece. And this is something we get to practice. So let me know how you are on that one. And let me know if it's more, does it feel more for you? So as you're listening to this, just decipher if you have had a recent trigger or someone misunderstanding something about you. Could be online, it could be in real life, could be in your business, in your personal life, wherever. But what does it feel like? Does it feel like it feels triggering because they hit on a nerve with you, but that is just revealing the part of you that you need to heal a little bit more and you need to strengthen? Like maybe you did really believe that about yourself. You've been beating yourself up about, like, let's say you're trying to, like, I had a client recently trying to work on the control in life, right? So she's aware that she wants to control everything. And she was saying she was working on it. Somebody else criticized her for, oh, you always need to control things. You always have to control, right? But she yeah, then it triggered her because she was like, oh God, yeah, I know that I'm a controlling person and I don't like that about myself. When they said that to me, it was like a trigger. So let me know if that's what's coming up for you, or is it the piece that I said was that, no, it's not, you don't really believe any of that about yourself. It's just it's hard when someone doesn't share that perspective about you. So is it for you the practice of, even if people are around me and they don't get me, I'm going to let them not get me? Oh, that's a difficult one. I'm going to let them misunderstand me. That's a big one, right? Yeah, it's okay, it's hard walking away from it, but it's out of my control. Yeah. And maybe it's not even about, yeah, because walking away from it can feel very like unresolved, right? So it's like sometimes we want the last word, or we want to be able to say our piece, but actually maybe you can just walk back to yourself. It's like, might sound a bit cheesy, but I genuinely mean that. It's like walking away from the misunderstanding and walking yourself back to yourself. Actually, that's what it is. Because then you can sort of, it's not about keeping control, but it's about coming back to your solid knowing, right? So if you come back to a real solid knowingness of who you are, and then you get to practice to say, even if someone doesn't understand me, think about a Facebook post. You ever had an interaction with someone? I've done this and I've practiced this actually. So in the past, I would have felt the need to have the last word. I'd have felt the need to put that person right if they misconstrued my post, if they thought I meant something else. They read something in it that wasn't my intention. I would have felt really compelled to explain to them at length what I meant and why I said it. And now, actually, I'm a lot better, maybe not 100%, but most of the time I'm a lot better at going, oh, they've taken this from my post. Okay, that's not my concern. That's what I know my intention. I know exactly what I meant when I posted it. Maybe I'll share what I meant. If it serves me and it feels expansive, I might share, actually, I meant this. But it's not about trying to convince them. It's always about kind of understand. Yeah, you love that. Okay, good. It's not about trying to convince them. It's about coming back to your knowingness, to go, I know myself so clearly and I hold this love, I hold this resonance, I get to practice this resonance. This is what I meant, this is what I know. And if anyone misunderstands that, that's okay. I'm safe. Because that's a big one, right? It feels very unsafe. Somehow, sometimes it feels like, oh my God, they've misunderstood me. And so I'm not safe. And now this in itself, as we're drilling down into it. Some of you might have this, some of you not. But if you've had any kind of trauma or any kind of difficult childhood experiences, I definitely have. I've had some of those. I know many people have. This might hit on those bigger wounds, right? So can you see? It's a lot deeper than, oh, you just need to fix this in yourself in this way. It's like there's many layers. So it might be that for you, being misunderstood really feels quite unsafe and not okay. Like I had a lot of defensiveness energy. I think I might even still have some of that. I'm still working on some of it, but I've definitely released a massive amount of it. So in any confrontation, I would often, like in a relationship, and it came up early in the days with me and Michael, and we were like butt heads and we didn't know each other fully yet. I'd feel the need to really explain myself and justify myself in any disagreement. And it was like a very defensive energy on my part, and it was like overkill, because it was like, instead of just leaving it be, I would come in fierce and I'd want to explain, I'd want to justify, and I'd want him to understand what I meant. It was way too kind of much for that kind of conversation that we were having. It wasn't about anything massive, but I was making it mean something massive, because what was coming up for me at the time, this was like 5 years ago especially, was like it didn't feel safe, because in the past, when I was misunderstood, bad things would happen, right? Some bad things could happen to us. The repercussions of that are quite big. So this gets to be quite big and juicy, right? So just on that note, if you do feel like this is a kind of a big juicy area, it might be that you want to do some more kind of deep dive work into that. So I put a link in the description, which I haven't talked about, by the way. I have free exploration and assessment calls. So you can book a call with me, totally free, between 30 and 45 minutes, to talk through what your transformation or shifting or expansion might look like. I can share some options with you. Have a look on the link anyway, because I've got a little video that explains what that's all about. But just in case this is bringing up any need for anyone to kind of go deeper with that, or in any area, but especially what I'm talking about here. But there are many different reasons, right, to be misunderstood and why that brings it up. But if you start to see it, so I guess the whole point of this is to just bring a light to it and bring some attention to it, because it's such a trigger for people, and we're surrounded by people. You know, it's all very well when we're at home meditating, journaling, being in our own bubble and feeling amazing. Can we hold that? Can we hold that connection to higher self? Can we hold that connection to our soul, to our knowingness in an interaction with people? And can we also continue to hold that when the interaction with others maybe isn't the way that we want it to be? Because we can't control other people's perceptions, right? And I'll just share this one thing and then I'll wrap up. But it reminds me of Elizabeth Gilbert, right, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. And she shared, I was at her workshop like a few years ago, and she was sharing how when she wrote Eat, Pray, Love, this book that was like read by millions around the world, she had people coming to her thanking her for the book, but also saying, wow, that scene when, you know, you did this and your mum did this or whatever. And she was saying, I don't recall that at all. She says, like, I never wrote that scene, but people perceived that in the book. And she shared how so many people, she got letters and emails from people who loved the book and shared the experiences, but that she said they were seeing things in this book that they were not written by me. I hadn't put those themes in the book. I hadn't shared that scene in the book. And she said, it's not my responsibility. Once that's out in the world, it's not my responsibility how that gets perceived by others. And she shared this, how this kind of amazing energy that people will see what they see in her book. And this, you'd think a book was black and white, right? It's there in the pages, but it's all about how people perceive and read that information. It was incredible. That really surprised me, that people were kind of writing in whole entire scenes that were not even in the book, but they somehow, through their lens, connected. So when you understand that, people can take you all different ways. You'll be plenty misunderstood, especially if you're going out in the world doing certain things, but you'll be misunderstood in relationships, in friendships, in work situations, in anywhere where communication comes up, which is all over our planet. So this is a piece that's really worth I think, some looking into and some exploration. So let me know how you find it. Let me know if you've got any questions on any of this. And I hope that made sense because I wanted to kind of share that perspective. So sometimes, yeah, it's about working on the trigger that maybe you do really believe that about yourself, and that's the thing that's mirrored back to you. But sometimes it's not about that. It's about holding the knowing and practicing being safe and being okay in the knowledge that you know who you are. And if even people misunderstand you, that's for them. And is that okay? So it's a big, juicy one. So yeah, feel free to comment below when you're watching the replay as well. Yeah, so just remember, and practicing. And for me, it's always when I get that feeling come up, it's just coming back into breathing. Always use the breath to come back into your body and give yourself another perspective. And just remind yourself of what you know. And this is why, it's so important to be able to come back to ourselves. Every single thing is always about soul alignment, coming back into ourselves, because our soul and our higher self never have this trigger. It's our persona, it's our personality that we've picked up on this earth plane that gets triggered by people misunderstanding us. So I'm sure there's loads more to say on the subject, but any questions, pop them below. Let me know how you're doing in general. Let me know how this feels for you. Let me know how you're getting on with people in general right now, because there's a lot of craziness in the world. And there's a lot of, people seeing the world through very different lenses. So this topic is very kind of relevant because so many people are seeing things in a different worldview, seeing different kind of truths in their reality. Again, we're living in the same planet, but we can be living in very different worlds and living on very different frequencies. So how we're getting perceived and understood is very different according to who you're connecting with. It might be someone who really reads energy and can feel your energy behind your words, gets what you're saying. Somebody else who can't, then maybe will interpret your words in a different way. So we've got to be able to hold that. It's not easy, but practice, and just keep coming back into yourself and asking yourself, what is true? What do I know about me? What do I know is true? And maybe, gently encourage yourself to go, well, can I just let them hold that perspective about me? Is that okay just to let them think and believe and feel whatever they think, believe and feel, and just bring the focus back to you? And actually, the more you do that, this is a beautiful thing, the more you connect back into yourself and really hold that knowing, you will start to release those experiences of people to challenge you on it. You'll find the more solid you are, the more knowing you are, the more connected you are to yourself, your higher self, your soul, and you don't need that lesson anymore. You'll start to see that this pattern kind of falls away and you'll be challenged less. You'll find that your interactions with people on that level will be less. They'll start to fall away. So if you find that they're coming at you thick and fast, take that as a sign that it's something inside of you that you get to practice and shift and release. And it's very powerful when you do. All right. So sending you so much love. Have a lovely rest of your day or evening, whenever you're watching this. And yes, again, if you want to explore any kind of expansion, shift, transformation, you're really ready to kind of move yourself into a different trajectory, check out the link. It'll take you to my page. There's a little video that explains what this is all about, how we might work together, what happens on the call. But yes, feel free, and I can connect with you. I can assist you on that, and we can look at that. But check out the link, wherever above. Okay, so sending you lots of love. Have a great week. Talk to you very soon. Thanks for joining me. Thank you guys for being here on the live. I can see a couple of you still here. So thank you, lovely people, for joining me, and thank you for watching the replay. All right, talk to you soon.